Hey friends, welcome back to another Seed Talk with Lisa and Layne. Hey Layne.
Hey Lisa, hello everyone. I can almost smell the sweet peas, Lisa, just thinking about this topic we're discussing today.
Oh, I guess we know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Sweet peas are one of those things that once you grow them, you can't not grow them
Oh,
anymore. I
no.
mean, they really are so special, so very, very special. We heard more sweet stories from people at the farmers market. When they'd smell the sweet peas, grandma stories would come out of everywhere.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
They're just so romantic, and they're one of the few things that can fill an entire room with fragrance just by putting a few stems in a little bud vase.
Yeah, they are pretty sweet. So I guess we're talking about sweet peas today, huh?
Yes. Yes.
All right. So, all right, friends, let's get this party going, Layne.
Let's get started. Okay, so sweet peas are cool season hardy annuals, aka cool flowers. So that means that if they are winter hardy in your zone, you can actually plant them in the fall and then they will overwinter and go on to bloom the following year. And they're winter hardy to USDA zone 7, which corresponds to 0 to 10 degrees Fahrenheit as your average annual winter minimum temperature. So if you live in that type of location or warmer, you can actually fall plant sweet peas. But Lisa, why would someone want to fall plant sweet peas? And why would they not just wait until very early spring? Can you talk about some of the differences you've observed in your growing? Because I feel like this is one of the ones you really notice a difference on if you fall versus spring planted.
Yes, we do. First, did you pick this photo because it has a rabbit in
You know me too well. Yes.
it? So, y'all, if you're listening to this on a podcast, you have to go over and check us out on the YouTube channel because Layne has prepared a beautiful slideshow, which includes a bunny rabbit
Oh,
showing the sweet peas. We live in Virginia, which is still in the South, which means typical weather behavior for us in the spring is we go straight from winter straight into hot afternoons and humidity starts up right away. I mean, it's nothing for our temperatures to go from 20s and 30s to 85 to 90 degrees in the afternoon, just with no window of what most people know as a spring. So we just don't really have that very early spring planting advantage that a lot of people do. And so sweet peas were one of the first cool season hardy annuals that I experimented, I learned about and did it, and I could not believe how wonderful they grew, how disease and pest resistant they were, how long the stems and the vines were. It was pretty phenomenal. And so, what planting them in the fall just really allows the roots and the plants to get super well established into cool to cold soil so they're really well prepared to perform as soon as spring-like weather comes. And when we do that, when we get them planted in the fall, which is the only way that we do it here, they will just keep blooming and blooming and blooming. I mean, we literally tear the sweet peas down in July, and there's a cheering crowd of the people that have had to be harvesting them because they are so prolific and you just get tired of harvesting them. And what happens as it heats up, the aphids come, that's a pest. And the stems start to get shorter, but we combat that because we cut the vines and use the whole vine. So, yeah, we just have tremendous results. And it's basically a result of well established plants that have had a runway to get ready before the heat comes.
and I just feel like when you do that, Lisa, when you do plant in the fall, if you live in a climate like ours where it gets hot and humid pretty quickly in the spring, they're just so easy.
Yeah, they really are pretty carefree for sure.
And by the way, if you live in a colder climate than what we've described and you don't have the option of fall planting, remember that you can plant in very early spring instead.
Usually the colder climates don't get humidity and heat as early, so it that works out beautifully. Yeah.
All right, so I wanted to talk about some sowing tips for sweet peas because they're a little different than a lot of our other cool flowers. So, Lisa, can you talk about the process you use at the farm to sow your sweet peas?
So we've changed our process in the last probably like 3 years ago. So we had always started them indoors in our grow room. I even soaked seeds, and we had fairly good results. One of the things I could not combat though was that my vines would grow really tall in spite of the fact that they were under grow lights, right? And I felt like they were really taller than they should be. And then in a talking to Farmer Bailey, who, does a lot of sweet pea production here when he was in the States, shared that sweet peas really germinate best at like 55 degrees. So the suggestion was in the fall to set the block, the whatever you're starting them in. We start them in the 2-inch sole block and they do beautifully. So the image that Layne has up on the left, we sowed the sweet peas in the 2-inch blocks. We did not soak them. And we just set them out on the carport, and it was like October here. So that would be classic 55 to 60 degrees at night, warmer during the day. And it took them a little bit longer to sprout, but you can see we had 100% germination, and they went on to just be some beautiful transplants. And that's them transplanted on the right. The cooler conditions really keep them from growing much on the top, but they put down great roots and they just thrive. So we only start sweet peas typically 2 to 3 weeks before we were going to plant them. A little bit sooner when we do this method because it took them a couple of weeks to sprout, but then they all just popped.
Yeah. And just to reiterate what you mentioned about soaking, Lisa, you actually don't have to soak the seeds. You can if you want to, but it's actually not necessary.
Yeah, Farmer Bailey really recommends against it. And so I just decided to try his method, went for it full force, and it worked. So,
Lisa, do you tend to pinch any of these seedlings at all, or do you just put them out as is?
we do not. They are really natural branchers, so they do really well.
Lisa, when you go to space these out, sweet peas are a vining plant, so it's best to plant them along some sort of a vertical support. How do you like to space them along there?
So I've always been an every 6-inch person, but I think this year we're trying 12-inch because they are so vigorous and so branchy, and I think it'll benefit them in the long run. So we'll go with 6 to 12 inches.
Okay, and then a very common question we get is like I just mentioned, sweet peas are often planted up along some sort of support or a trellis that's already in place at the time of planting. And people are used to protecting their cool flowers over the winter with hoops and row cover. So a question we often get is, how can I protect these sweet peas if they are planted up against some sort of a structure?
It's a struggle. And so I tend, as the image that you're looking at here on the left, that's actually a row of sweet peas planted 6 inches apart. And you can see how this is probably in very early spring is when this image was taken. You can see how many branches there are on each and every plant. So I purposely, although this year we're again doing something a little bit different, we install our trellis in spring for them to climb up. So we don't have to worry about that. But we have this wonderful permanent structure here on the farm now with that tunnel. And so we're actually going to be planting the sweet peas not right up against it, but actually about 12 inches away from the tunnel wall so that we can jerry rig putting hoops and row covers because the swings of our weather in the winter, I mean, we'll go from 17 degrees today to 62 tomorrow. That's what we really want to help protect them and insulate them from. So don't plant right up against whatever your structure is. Give room to actually get the foot of your hoop over there. And I would still recommend hooping them. That just really provides the best kind of environment for what's growing underneath.
Did you want to share any of your favorite varieties, Lisa, the ones that you've just come back to again and again over the years?
So the two that we just kind of grow every year because they seem to be the hardiest is High Scent is my absolute favorite, and it is the most fragrant.
It is.
It's also called, some seed companies call it April in Paris. It's the same as High Scent. It's white with a lavender brush, and it is the most fragrant. And I find it to be the most vigorous and productive. And then we always go back to Royal Mix. Royal mix is the mixed colors. I mean, it has shrimp and red and lavender and purple and white and just and coral and just all the great colors. And we grew a vast variety of, we imported seeds from England and all of that, and they were beautiful. But our two, Hyacinth and Royal, just seem to outperform more consistently, and they're just as beautiful.
They are. And I do want to mention that there are lots of different looks of sweet peas to choose from, so many different gorgeous varieties, but just know that some are definitely more fragrant than others.
Yes.
So if you're primarily growing for the fragrance, just be sure to pay attention to that when you're ordering.
Totally agree with that.
All right, well, that's it for this sweet pea episode. We hope that you all will be enjoying sweet peas in your garden next spring. And thank you so much to everyone again for being here. Please be sure to share Seed Talk with a friend if you are enjoying it, and make sure to follow or subscribe wherever you're watching or listening so that you won't miss any of our future episodes. And we just appreciate everyone being here with us again and hope you're having a wonderful fall or spring, depending on where you live.
And friends, just in case you haven't heard, Layne and I have a new course out called Cool Flowers from Seed to Harvest. And it is an amazing course. It is so comprehensive, 36 cool flowers, video demonstrations, out in the field, seed starting. Literally, it takes you from seed to harvest for 36 cool flowers. And you can find that over at thegardenersworkshop.com. And you will not be sorry. That is lifetime access. You will never, no questions go unanswered.
And sweet peas are included.
Yes, they are. They are. All right, friends, until we meet again, this is a wrap. Ciao, everybody.
Bye.